BF Day proudly presents Mr. M's Math Class.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Mr. M's Math Class. I cannot believe that it's already been 7 episodes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really excited about your seeing your work, dividing whole numbers by fractions. Really great job. And fourth graders, to let you in a little secret, that's actually fifth grade work. So really impressed by all of your work. It was really great to see. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but just wanted to share my excitement with that. First thing we're going to talk about is I'm going to share some pictures of some of you looking at episode 6. 2, I'm going to give you the answer to the second quarantine question, and then I'm going to introduce the new quarantine question number 3. Then 3, we have a new estimation 180 today that was provided by Aranya, so thank you, Aranya, for that. 4, I'm going to share some observations from the dividing whole numbers by fractions, like I mentioned earlier, sir. So I'll be doing a little bit of that. It won't be too long. 5, I'm going to introduce the new math exploration. I'm going to do a quick little lesson, give you an example of what I'm expecting in your work, and then we'll move on. And then 6, I'm going to give you a new coloring mural. So coloring murals are going to be on Tuesdays. Again, these are optional. And then 7, we'll have a goodbye message, and then we'll have the answer to Aranya's question. So first off, here are some pictures of you looking at episode 7. All right, so thank you so much again, parents, for sending me those photos. I really love it, and I've actually gotten feedback from kids that they actually really like seeing each other in these videos, and so the more pictures of kids looking at the videos, the better. So thank you so much. Moving on, I'm going to talk about the answer to the quarantine challenge question number 2, and this is where it was called Agent 99, and you had to figure out how to add those numbers to 99, and you had to find both ways in order to get credit. So some of you found one way, you have to find both ways. So one way was 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 65. So you combine the 6 and the 5, plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 equal 99. And the second way was 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 43 plus 21 equals 99. And so the people that got that correct are the following, and then this is in first name order. The winners that got that right were Anastasia, Ariel, Athena, Holland, Josie, 5th grade Josie, Juniper, Juliet, Lucille, Mateo, Molly, 5th grade Molly, Oliver, Quincy, Tegan, Toby, Yuli, and Vance. So really nice job on the quarantine challenge question of the week. So nice job. All right, next up we have Aranya's question, estimation 180 question, which is how many mugs does Aranya's family have? And one thing to note while you're looking at the pictures is the 2 pictures on the right side are the same as the picture on the left side. So they're all the same mugs, just arranged in, I think, in different ways. So good luck. All right, so I'm going to share some observations from the last math exploration, was dividing whole numbers by fractions. And overall, what a fantastic job you all did. It was really great to see all the different pictures, and it seemed like the large majority of you really understood what I meant by that. So really nice job. One thing that I didn't want to talk about was that some of you just wrote down an equation and an answer without any explanation of how you got it. Remember that if you are choosing just numbers, they need to give me some sort of way, like how did you come up with that answer? So just make sure that you are giving me an equation, but then also showing me your work about how you did that. So other than that, really fantastic job. So I'm going to introduce a new math exploration next, and do a little quick lesson for you as well. All right, so for math exploration number 7, we're actually going to continue thinking about dividing whole numbers by fractions. But unlike last week's episode, where I did a unit fraction, and a unit fraction has a 1 in the numerator, we're going to use a different type of fraction, which is a non unit fraction, which doesn't have a 1 on top. And the exploration is broken up into 3 pages, and so it's a little longer, but there aren't as many questions on each page. And the directions say solve each of the story problems below. For each problem, choose and circle one of the numbers in parentheses, depending on how challenging you want the problem to be. So it starts there. You have 4 options. You can start off with an easy fraction, or it gets super, super difficult towards the end. And then you write an expression to represent your problem. And an expression is a type of equation, but it doesn't have an equal sign. It's just 2 numbers without an equal sign. Use numbers, labeled visual models, or words to solve the problem and explain your strategy. Again, you have to explain your strategy. Complete the sentence below with your solution to the problem. So the first one says, it takes blank of a cup of sugar to make a batch of cookies. I have 5 cups of sugar. How many batches of cookies can I make? And so the 4 choices that I have are 1/2, 1/4, 3/4, or 3/8. And again, that gets way more complicated. The last fraction that you choose is the most complicated. So I'm actually going to choose 3/4, which is the third hardest out of the 4. For this first one, you can't choose 3/4 as well. So you do have to choose one of the others. You can do an easier one or the more difficult one. So my expression here is, I have 5 cups of sugar, and if it takes 3/4 of a cup of sugar to make a batch of cookies, I have to figure out how many 3/4 are there in 5 cups of sugar. In other words, 5 divided by 3/4. So my expression would be 5 divided by 3/4. And that's what I want to be able to figure out. I want to know how many 3/4 are there in 5. And so I'm going to use a visual model to represent this, and I'm going to use boxes. And I'm going to draw 5 boxes. And I want them to be relatively the same size. So that's pretty good right there. And each one of these represents 1 cup of sugar. So I have 5 cups of sugar here. And I'm going to split each one into fourths, since this is 3/4. So I'm going to split each cup of sugar into fourths. Now, for the first batch of cookies, I use 3/4. So I'm going to represent that by putting a 1 inside of 3 out of the 4 boxes in the first cup. Now, I can still use that for the second batch. So I'm going to do that 2, 2, 2. And that's another 3/4. The next one, 3, 3, 3. It's another 3/4. That's the third batch. 4. That's the fourth batch. And again, notice here I'm just using 3/4 of it. 5. 6. Now something interesting happens here, because for the 7th one, I don't have another cup of sugar. And so what happens is I can only use 2 out of the 3/4 that I can use. And so the answer here, specifically, if I wanted to find the specific answer, is 6 2/3 batches. But because the question's asking exactly how many batches you can make, like how many whole batches, I can only make 6 batches, as I don't have enough sugar for the next one. So the answer here would be 6 batches of cookies. So you're going to be doing the same thing. Again, I would look at the last video and see if you want to use a number line model. That's totally fine. I used this one just because I felt like it made a little bit more sense for me in this particular question. Like I said, there are 3 parts. And in the last page, it's going to ask for you to write a story problem that matches a whole number divided by a fraction. And I would use the examples that they've given you and just change it up a little bit to create your own story problem. So good luck with the exploration. I think y'all can do it, because you did such a great job with the first one. And so I wish you luck, but I think you're going to do great. Okay, our next coloring mural is a Simpsons mural, and in a moment I'm going to show you the end product of that. Again, this is an optional thing. You don't have to do this. Obviously, you need a printer for this, and so if you can and you enjoy this is a large Simpsons picture, and here is that finished product. And before I talk about the goodbye message, there is a new quarantine challenge question. And the quarantine challenge question this week is called The Wicked Witch. And this is a very, very interesting quarantine question. A fellow teacher from California actually gave me this one. And it's quite tricky because I had to go back and forth trying to give her different answers. And it took me a while to figure out. So I'm hoping that you guys can do this too. It looks like this. And you have to be really, really careful with looking at the pictures. It's much simpler. I mean, it's much more complicated than it seems. And so be really careful when you look at the picture. I would recommend looking at the computer if you are printing these out. But there are some very subtle things that you should be looking at. That's the only clue I'm going to give you. And this one is due on April 14th at noon. So you have a week to do this. And I wanted to just say our goodbye message. Really quickly that there is going to be some of you were asking for more worksheets to do at home, and so this is not going to be a mandatory thing, but I was able to go into the classroom today and make some copies of some worksheets, and so I decided to make copies of worksheets that I haven't taught yet. And so if you and your family talk about it and you would want these worksheets, have your parents email me their address, and then I will send you the packet of math worksheets for you to work on. Again, this is not mandatory. I'm also going to put it on as a PDF in the email and on Schoology. So if you have the ability to print these out, that would be fantastic. But I was only able to do 15 per grade level, and these are going to be given first come, first serve. But if you are able to print some out for yourself or for somebody else, I'm sure somebody would really, I would really appreciate it, and I would help facilitate that conversation and that connection, so that if your parents can print these out for somebody else, we can find a way for you to get one. So again, this is not a mandatory worksheet packet, but if you really want to work on something other than the math explorations. Because you still are doing the math exploration, it's just on top. So some kids wanted more, and so this is what I was able to provide. So have your parents email me their address, and then I will hopefully get that packet to you sometime next week or in the following week. I just wanted to say thank you again for everything. I know that yesterday we got the news that there wasn't going to be school for the rest of the school year, and I know that's really, really hard, especially for you fifth graders. Just know that Miss Noring, Mr. Olegario, and I are in talks of trying to figure some creative ways to still celebrate all of you and still have some fun with you guys before the end of the school year. And once we make some decisions, we will let you know what we've decided. And I'm just really, I know it's really tough to know that you're not going to come back together again before the end of the school year. And I know that's really hard, and it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel bummed about it. And again, we hope that we'll have some ideas for you to somehow salvage this year. But I know it's really tough. All right, guys, I miss you a lot, and I'll see you next Tuesday in the next episode. So yeah. And here is Arania's estimation 180 question. I almost forgot that. Here is the answer to her question, which was how many mugs does her family have? And here it is.